on, let's get some of the lads together. Let's have a go here. Okay, yeah, all right. Come on, fellas. Get around the go. Let's have a good go. Come on, then. You ready? Come on, you lot. Go on, then.
Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white. The imps are here to stay. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white. The imps are here to stay. Lincoln City are the team, the Radiants is their name. Stinsel Bank is their home ground and football is their game. So come and cheer them on, you mad, support them all the way. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white, the imps are here to stay. Oh, 'tis our delight.
Morning all, how we doing? Quick video again this morning, just out on the dog walk. Wonderful morning up here in the Lincolnshire Wolds today. I mean, lovely crisp sunshine, that slight autumnal bite in the air. I don't know if you can see kind of down there. This is the track where I'm going through that little gap. Absolutely beautiful. Do you know what? Honestly, I don't think I'd change my life at all. Great job. And then I can just walk out and talk to you lovely people about football. I think if there was one thing I would change, if I could, this is nice. This is what's called a segue, apparently, in the business. But if there's one thing that I would change, it would be the need for Lincoln City to play under 21 teams in any sort of competition. Now, I'm not fundamentally against it. I'm not. I've covered it before. You know, I'm not somebody who boycotts the competition based on the fact that there's a route for B teams into the Football League structure or anything like that. I'm not going to try and jump on the bandwagon and pretend that I am. I'm not. I have my views on the competition. I can see some positives as well as negatives. You look at our squad and you think the likes of Max Sanders, for instance, and Tashan Oakley-Booth, I think TJ Ioma, plenty of other players within our squad got their first senior experiences playing in the EFL trophy in under 21 teams against senior opposition, and it helps them develop as players. And I think, sadly, there was a comment, I think it was Jimmy Walker made when I was watching back the replay of Saturday's game, and he said, the technique now in League One, it's like nothing we've ever seen before, the phenomenal players. And that's right. And you know what? That is filtering down from top level academies, and like or loathe the way that football is run, there is no doubt whatsoever that the standard of footballer in terms of quality is better in League One because of the academy system that we have further up. And I don't agree with player farming. I don't agree with you Chelsea's keeping 40 or 50 players and loaning them out and all that sort of stuff. I don't agree with that. But when you look at the likes of Max Sanders, who wasn't player farmed, he was considered part of the Brighton setup right up until he kind of left and came to us. He's the perfect example of the EFL trophy serving a purpose, serving a positive purpose. That he's represented Brighton, and please correct me if I'm wrong. It might not be, he may actually not have done looking back, but he certainly played for their under 21 team. So he's an example of that kind of pathway. Oh, morning, Chris. He's an example of the pathway that leads us to. Did you like that? To like League One improving. So, and I can see how the Football League trophy, the EFL trophy, the Papa John's helps us. You try telling Jovan McCarmer or Morgan Worsfold Gregg or Billy Brooks or Hayden Cann, who have all made their professional debuts in this competition, that it has no value. Try telling it to Lee Frecklington, who made some of his earliest appearances for Lincoln City in the same itinerary, in the same competition many years ago, different format and all that sort of thing. So try telling him it doesn't have any value. It certainly does have value. It has a place, and in order to survive financially, you say we sold our souls to the devil, but don't lower league football fans do that every day? And I'm not getting back on that discussion. I've written about it today, but every football fan who watches football on television is selling their soul to the devil. So why should a football club be any different, as long as there are safeguards in place, or there is a desire in place to keep our Football League pyramid as professional clubs only, or as actual clubs only, rather than bringing under 21 teams in. I think that's hugely important. But then why not take a slice of the pie? 10 grand it is to win a game in the group stages. You win all 3 games, didn't know I was good at maths, I'm sure, but that's 30 grand, 20 grand after that next round. I think the round after that's 40 grand. You don't have to go that deep in the competition before you've got 100 grand in the bank. Not really. And for a club, okay, like us, 100 grand's a lot of money. Let's not fool ourselves. You know, when you're talking about having a wage bill of let's say, and I might be wrong, 1.7 million, for instance, 100 grand's a nice chunk of that wage bill. 100 grand's a lot of money in terms of a January transfer window. You know, we go out tonight, get a result, get a positive performance, 10 grand in the bank, get into the next round, 20 grand in the bank. That might be the difference between, you know, getting a player and not getting a player. So I can understand the positives as well as the negatives. However, what I'm really keen to point out today is that tonight's game, particularly tonight's game, is an indication of everything that's wrong with modern football. And it's by accident, not by design, may I add. By accident, not by design, by the results that have happened, you know, and it's as much combination of us losing to Doncaster as it is anything. But what you've got going on tonight is this. You have got a team, an under-21 team, from one of the richest football clubs in the world, coming to Sincil Bank with the sole intention of stopping us getting our hands on £10,000. That's it. Because Newcastle United under-21s cannot progress in this competition. They've lost one and drawn one. They lost the penalty shootout, so they've got 1 point. 5 points is the threshold to get out of the group. They're going nowhere. All they're doing today is coming to try and beat Lincoln City. In beating Lincoln City, they deny us access to a £10,000 prize pot. And yet £10,000 to them is a drop in the ocean. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely nothing at all. They could find, you know, the owners of Newcastle United could walk past £10,000 laid on the floor like you and I would walk past a penny and not consider picking it up. And for me, it does reflect the very worst of this competition. And I'm always happy to talk about the positives for this competition. I am. Anybody who says that our promotion from League Two in 2018-19 was not partly funded by the fact we'd won the Checkatrade Trophy the year before is delusional. It was. We earned a lot of money from that. It enabled us to give Danny and Nicky the budget that they needed. Because let's not lie about it, we had a top 3 or 4 budget that season, and that was based on the fact that we'd gone deep in the Checkatrade Trophy, we'd then won it, we'd got all of the associated prize money, etc. That helped us get promoted. And managers like Joey Barton that say we don't like this competition, we don't care about this competition, blah 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 blah, they're deluding themselves, because it is a great route to financial reward wherever the money comes from. And you know, a lot of Premier League money, football's entire survival at our level is based on money that we have kind of passed down, that trickles down. And so to say, you know, it's blood money and we want no part of it is, if you took all of the blood money out of football, the lower league would just collapse. It just go, be like 1999 all over again in the ITV digital fiasco. So at the end of the day, I'm you know, when I say I'm happy to take this money, you know, I'd much prefer that all clubs were fully sustainable, but in the way that the Premier League has helped shape British football or English football over the last 25, 30 years has made that impossible. We are reliant on what they do now, and it's just how we continue to exist under that. But this particular game is one that is just abhorrent, isn't it? And when you look at the Newcastle team, right, it also grates on me. They've just signed a boy, haven't they? And his name escapes me at the moment. It was literally on their Twitter yesterday. And it's, you know, we've signed this guy, this 19-year-old kid. He's he's going to go straight into our under-21s and play there all season. And do you know what? I read it and I just thought, how depressing. Because for me, the Newcastle under-21 team shouldn't just be who's in their under-21s. There should be a clause on the players that they're allowed to field as well. That means that they have to have had 3 years in their academy, or they have to have come through certain age groups, because that's how you would continue to promote football at that level. Whereas, you know, in actual fact, you think about when we played Chelsea, for instance, they played one of the Hazards and they played this and they played that. And you know, I was aware that under EU rules, you couldn't discriminate the nationality of a player. But I think for Newcastle under-21s to be coming here and kind of making signings to add to their team the day before and all that sort of thing, and whether he can play or not, I don't know. I would assume he can. I'm kind of just going off belief here, but it just, I don't know, it just feels wrong to me. And it feels really wrong that, you know, Newcastle are coming here and could beat us, and maybe I'm wrong and I'm happy to be corrected, but I'm pretty sure that if they beat you, you don't get the £10,000 game winning bonus. But what would Newcastle United under-21s want for it with 10 grand? Honestly, you know, it's not even pocket change. It's not even. I pick fluff out of my pocket and throw it away and think more about losing that fluff than Newcastle's owners would think about losing 10 grand. Yeah, and I'm not particularly being critical here of Newcastle United as a club. They are just a reflection of modern football ownership further up. And I don't think I feel quite as bad when we play an under-21 team from a Category A academy, if we ever did, like a Middlesbrough or a Blackburn or something like that, because the funding is slightly different, and you do feel that you're more likely to be playing, Lancashire-based footballers, or even when we play Brighton, you're more likely to be playing footballers who. I think there's sirens. Around in the country, sirens. It's like I live in London. You're more likely to be getting players through who are going to end up playing either with you on loan or something like that. I mean, you knew full well when we played Chelsea in that semi-final, and they'd got Ethan Ampadu and Trevor Chalobah and a lot of other really good footballers. I think Musunda played as well, didn't he? And you know that they're not going to come on loan to you, so that's not benefiting the lower league in any way whatsoever, other than financially. And I think we were the first team, weren't we, that ended an under-21 club's attempts to get into the final at the final hurdle. And that felt it felt like a big moment, I think, for the EFL trophy. And many probably would have preferred us to have lost, and therefore the trophy lost its credibility, because it will lose its credibility as soon as an under-21 team gets through to the final. Because for me, the EFL trophy, not only the positives that I've just said, but it's also been a route for a small team to get to Wembley. We got to Wembley. I know one or two didn't go, and it was one or two by the end, and respect to those. But there was, plenty of people who boycotted early games who did go. I'm not going on to the boycotting, but it was a big day for the football club. It took a lot of people to Wembley, and we won at Wembley. And it was a shame that we had to do it in a competition with under-21 teams. It was nice that actually little old Lincoln City, with good, honest professionals, were able to put the under-21 team out. We're able to prove you won't win anything with kids. The year somebody does get to the final, the year a team does get to the final with an under-21 team, that is for me when you kind of go, actually, what strange. That's it really. That's it. It's gone. And I think the Football League could do a little better with it, if I'm honest. I think that they could see, and I think they might have to be fair, and the Premier League as well, that if a Premier League under-21 team do get to the final, or a Category A academy do, and it loses its relevance, I think that then they'll have to look potentially at making changes. And I don't see why you couldn't do something like, from each group stage, you get one under-21 team, or you get two under-21 teams in there and two full teams, or you restructure it in a way that from each group, two professional teams emerge, but then from each collection of groups, the best four performing under-21 teams go through. And then you have a knockout stage where you pair up a professional team and an under-21 team, or the under-21 teams going to their own knockout, or something like that. So that actually you then have a kind of an under-21 tournament and a professional tournament running side by side through the knockout stages to the final, where on final day, it's the under-21 final first and the professional final second. And you would create, I think, better attendances for the bigger clubs, certainly at the final stage. So quite how you would do that, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. You talk about the lack of games for under-21 teams, but when you look how many are in danger of going out of the competition and how many progressed last season, oh dear, they didn't do well. This year, Man United United under-21s have already qualified. I think it's Wolves, Leeds and Aston Villa could win their groups, could still go through. So it's, it could be an under-21 laden competition this year. And also, another point I'd make about, sorry, I'm getting out of breath. Whew. Here we go. Another point that I would also make is about the competition is it's amazing how many League Two clubs take it seriously. And I think that's all to do with the prize money again. Clubs coming down out of like Championship, like your Derby, Sheffield Wednesdays, Barnsley's to a degree, kind of use it as an exercise to flex their muscles in terms of their squads. And the ones with bigger squads actually aren't doing too badly this year. Obviously, Barnsley are top of our group, already qualified, and able to play a team in the EFL trophy, which would be capable of easily a mid-table finish in League One. For us, it's a mixture of, it's a bit more of a balancing act when you're going two for every position and you've got a couple of injuries. But I think it's really good for us tonight because you think Lass not been getting the game time. Tashan not been getting as much game time. They'll both play. Jamie Robson, perfectly good player. Really good in my opinion. Left back will get a game tonight. For me, it should be. It's a game that you've got to win. I think if you go into this and you don't win, Mark Kennedy will have to ask questions about one or two of the players. And I think he did it last time when we played Doncaster, and that was harsh because actually I was at that Doncaster game and we controlled much of the midfield. It was up front where we were really poor that game. But I think if I remember correctly, it was Max Sanders and Tashan, and I thought both had good games. And I think we should have enough to put the 10 grand in the bank tonight and progress. And look, that's not particularly a bad thing. And I know people will disagree with me, but it isn't a bad thing. Especially not if we kind of not suck it to Newcastle, because it's not Newcastle's fault that they're the villain of the piece this evening. It's not their fault. It is their fault. They're already eliminated, but you know what I mean. It's not their fault that circumstance makes them just like the child catcher or whatever. The pantomime baddie come in here with all their millions just to take another 10 grand away, cackling. Like a reverse Robin Hood or a Tory or something like that. It isn't their fault. But it would be a crying shame if they did do that. Because not crying shame, it would just be it would be for the tournament. I think it would be a crying shame for the tournament's validity. But it'd certainly be something I wrote about. So I'm not going tonight. As I've said before, it's not an ethical decision. I just have no interest in watching Lincoln City play against under 21s in person when it's a 60-70 mile round trip for me. I'll probably watch it on iFollow, because at the end of the day, I'd rather pay money that goes to Lincoln City, and the iFollow figures I don't think go on. They don't go on to the attendance figures. So if the attendance is low, it sends the message to the Football League. But at the same time, attendances were low in this competition when we used to have to play Halifax. I think our lowest ever attendance at a Lincoln City game, which was 100 odd people, came in this competition against Halifax, a dead rubber, the game that didn't need to be played. Attendances have always been poor. They haven't improved at all with under 21 teams. In fact, they've fallen a little bit, but then you would expect that because an under 21 team doesn't bring as many away followers. So you would expect a slight downward trend, because if Lincoln play Grimsby in this competition, irrespective of how little regard it's held in, Lincoln probably take 200-300 fans there. Grimsby probably put an extra 400 or 500 on there. Do you know what I mean? The numbers do creep up. Whereas if it's Aston Villa, there's fewer Lincoln fans want to go. But Aston Villa under 21s are not going to bring 300-400 supporters. And especially when it's been regionalised, you always get a group of supporters who want to go to these sorts of games. I seem to think we played Leicester City in it one year. I might be wrong. Did we play Leicester in it when they were League One, something like that? Anyway, again, there was a number of imps that would then go along to games like that. We lost, I can't remember, we lost 5-2 one year as well. Might have been a Doncaster or something like that. So that's probably one of the reasons why attendances aren't that great. To be fair, I just think that they've stayed solid. I think it's created more debate having under 21 teams in. It's created more money, but it hasn't created any more interest. And it hasn't particularly dampened the interest. And let's face it, I'm a hypocrite. I don't want to see us play under 21 teams, but if in like the next round or the round after, when there's 20 or 40 grand at stake and a potential route to Wembley, we were to draw Wolves under 21s at home, I'd probably go. I went to the semi-final against Chelsea. Went to one of the Man United ones, Mike Appleton's first game. So it is what it is. But yeah, just going to be an odd one tonight. Going to be an odd one. Right, let's have a quick look. I see Cornell's online. Morning, Cornell. Mr. Lamming. Morning, sir. Clive Smith. Morning, Gary. It's a good income and a chance for players to get games in competitive football. I think that's what you've got to look at it. There's no reserve football as such now. There's lots of behind doors friendlies and stuff like that, but there's no reserve league. And I listen to Under the Kosh podcast quite a bit, and the number of players that talk about how the reserve league used to be competitive and all that sort of thing. And these games, whilst they don't have the same competitive edge, there is a little bit of bite. You only need to read Joey Barton's comments about Palace and Bristol Rovers the other day. The youngsters are wanting to make a bit of a name for themselves, and the Rovers players know they've been in a game. And I want Lasse Sorensen and Tashan and Jamie Robson tonight, and at 10 or 11 tonight, to know they've been in a game. And then if there is a need to call upon them on Saturday, and there may well be, that they're going to have got some benefit from this game. And it's same with the young players as well. Try telling Jovan there's no value in this competition when he's getting regular outings. Okay, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, but he's getting football at this level. He's getting watched. Zach Elbazedi, would Zach Elbazedi have got his move to Sweden without winning Player of the Round two rounds in a row a couple of years ago? Not so sure. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But the fact is, he was able to put himself in the shop window in that. So there is a chance for players to get games, and I think that you have to look at it not from that kind of negative angle, not from Newcastle assigning talented, world class, I don't know, but talented 19-year-olds and putting them straight into the side. Try not to look at that and try and look at the benefit to Lincoln City. Take away the ethics of having to play an under-21 team and look at it being a game that's not quite a senior fixture, but not quite a friendly as well, with players who are looking to make claim. Mark Kennedy will be in the dugout. It's not like Mark Kennedy doesn't go. He doesn't treat this competition with the same disrespect that Jurgen Klopp treated it, the FA Cup a couple of years ago, does he? Or they've treated the League Cup in the past. He's not going to send a reserve manager over and into it. He's going to be there. He's going to be watching his players, and he's going to want a game from them. And you can guarantee if we go out there and win 4-0 and Tashan Oakley-Booth hits a hat-trick, he's going to be in contention on Saturday. Mark Kennedy's proven if you do well, you get a chance. If you continue to do well, you keep your place. And you need to look at Max Sanders, who was out the side and then back in the side. You only need to look at Ben House, who has played instead of Tom Hopper, not just when he's injured. You only need to look at the players who have done well, have come in and kept their place. Sean Rowan, a classic example. So it's a great point, Clive. It really is. Links, which I think is Jake's hairdresser. Morning, Gary. Don't let that put you off, by the way. I'm sure he's very good. Morning, Gary. I just got back from a cruise in the Med and I met a lad who grew up with Jamie Robson. Only grew up so far, and then the lad probably kept growing and Jamie didn't. He's not massively tall, is he? Funny, isn't it, how things work? Can't read everything Cornell's put, but morning, Gary. Big up yourself, Cornell. There we go. And I thought I'd got a lot of comments. I did. They're all Cornell. Steve Barton, morning, Steve. Hope you're well. Steve says, good training run out for those looking recent competitive football. Absolutely. Cornell says, won't be surprised if we see Davenport and Walsh play tonight. I would be, Cornell, because I think that they're injured. But if not, it'd certainly be perfect to see Joe Walsh. And again, it's another positive, isn't it, that you highlight there. When you've got players coming back from injury, you might not want to give them a start in 60 minutes against Sheffield Wednesday, but you certainly wouldn't mind doing it against Newcastle under-21s. So actually, if there are players on the fringe of coming back, or there are players that might be able to do 20 minutes at the end of a game, these are the games to bring them in and put them in. And again, it has benefit. It really does. Morning, Molly. Morning, Gary. We're going tonight, just watching our players. No politics, but hoping to bag some cash and progress to a bigger payday. Date night. So I've got no problem. Going, not going. It's an individual's choice. It really is. And I know a lot of people who are going tonight. And I'll watch it. And maybe if I lived within walking distance, it'd get to 6:30 and I might go, do you know what? Yep, I'll go. But, coming from here, it's a little bit more of a trek. I would never make an on spur of the moment decision. But I went to the last game. I said I wouldn't. Went to the last game because I wanted to see Jacob Davenport. So, I'm not going to say anything too negative. Steve Barton says, will Freddie Draper play again? Possibly. You'd certainly expect to see Draper involved on 60-65 minutes if he's coming back to fitness as well. And Steve Turner, morning, mate. Morning, Steve. Hope you're well. Look, thank you very much, everybody, for watching and making my dog walk a little bit more interesting. There won't be one tomorrow. I have a routine. I ring my mum on Monday, try and do a dog walk on Tuesday. Hopefully my mate Pete will be free on Wednesday, so I'll have a chat with him and then we'll see what goes on from there. So you might get a dog walk if Pete's not available tomorrow. If not, it might be Tuesday. Richard, sorry, I didn't want to miss you out there, mate. You just popped in. How did good run out for our fringe players tonight? Winning bread. Yep, winning breeds winning. It does indeed. And I think you only have to look at the 2 years that we went deep in this competition. Wow, everyone's coming on now. Morning, Nick. Hope you're well, mate. The 2 years we went deep in this competition, we also finished in a playoff place in the respective divisions. So, I think that does say everything. If you win football games, and bear in mind, like tonight, you're going to have probably 2 centre-backs starting who played on Saturday. The right back you might have a winger start who started Saturday, might even have a central midfielder start who started on Saturday. They're first team players who played at Ipswich and won. If they go into this game and win again, they're going to Sheffield Wednesday on the back of 2 wins, potentially 2 clean sheets. And then Newcastle haven't scored a goal as yet, Newcastle under-21s. I don't want to kind of preempt anything because I'm usually a kiss of death for this sort of thing. And Richard's quite right. Winning breeds winning, whoever you're playing. And not so much in a friendly. If it's a friendly and you're chopping and changing and messing about, it's a bit different. And I don't think, friendlies have an awful lot of bearing on what happens when you kick off. But games in the season do, certainly. I think, and I look back a little bit at the year that we were in the playoffs under Michael Appleton. We beat Accrington in this competition and drew with them in the league, beat Shrewsbury in this competition, lost to them in the league. There is an element of that. But if you then look at like the year that we got through to the final and won it, and we beat Accrington, we beat Rochdale from a higher division, and irrespective of whether it was Rochdale reserves or not, it gives you a buzz that you've won a game against a higher level team. Probably why you often see League Two teams in this final. And I think if you look back, Salford have been in it recently, Sutton have been in it recently, we've been in it recently. It says an awful lot, I think, about the mentality behind these games and the motivation to win. It's hard for Sheffield Wednesday fans or Ipswich fans and players to motivate themselves to beat a team 12 places below them in this division, or a team like Harrogate or Sutton who they don't go to, or an under-21 team. But it's not so hard for a Sutton or a Salford to want to stake their claim, beating teams from higher up. So there we go. Winning does breed winning. Let's hope that tonight against the child catchers, against the evil spectre of the moneybags Newcastle United, looking to rob little old Lincoln of 10 grand that we could do with. Let's hope that we get a result. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a good day. Whatever you choose to do tonight, enjoy it, and I'll see you all again soon. Cheers. Bye.